Soften your senses. Ways to become a better speaker, listener, and follower.
This message brought to you by ServiceTitan. Work smarter, not harder. Learn more at servicetitan.com.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us again on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC podcast. So we're hanging out with Angie Snow here at the National HVACR Education Conference. We spent a lot of time learning about new technologies. We've talked about refrigerant transitions. We've talked about so many things that are just escalating in the industry, especially even when we talk about technology and how fast technology is evolving around us. But there are a lot of things that we sometimes forget when we're focusing on just the skill sets that we know. Because I know, like for my personal self, when I came from the field into the classroom, I thought, boy, I'm going to be a great educator. I'm really good at teaching people how to fix things. And then I got into the classroom and realized, wow, I really don't know how to speak to someone that doesn't know anything about what I want to talk about. And so sometimes it's a matter of learning how to communicate in different communication styles and forming relationships. And I think you're at the very forefront of this.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. It comes down to your ability to communicate, not just to give information, but actually to connect, because the best communicators are able to make that connection. And you think back to the people who have influenced you. And really, that's what a leader is. A leader is someone who has the ability to influence others.
Yes.
And people want to follow them because of their ability to influence. And someone that I've been mentoring under is John Maxwell.
Oh, my goodness.
One of the best.
There's someone to study by.
And so I have, the last couple of years, I've really been harnessing and learning from him. And something about him that he's taught for years is there are 5 levels of leadership.
Okay.
And he has a book on this if anyone wants to dive deeper into this. But with the 5 levels of leadership, the first level is really not even a level at all. It's the level of position. You're a leader because that's your title. That's what you've been given. So if you think about educators, right? You're a teacher. You are there, and people are there just because you have that title and they have to be there.
Oh,
right?
yeah, so true.
And they show up, and that works in, any organization as well. You probably can think of someone that was a level 1 leader that, they didn't energize you. You didn't really want to follow them, but you had to because that was their title.
That was their position. Yeah.
Right. And the second level is the level of, it's a relationship level. They're there because, you give them permission to lead you because you like them. You start to have a relationship with them. A level 2 leader finds out about you. They might know something about your family. They start to connect with you a little bit, and you start to learn a little bit more about them. They know your strengths, they know your weaknesses, and you really like your level 2 leaders. A level 3 leader is the production level. You follow them because of what they've actually produced, what they've done. You can see the impact and the influence that they've made. So, you think about educators and, what impact have they made? What difference have they made? And a lot of times, I don't know how many people know this. I used to be a 2nd grade teacher.
I've heard Howard's mentioned that before.
Before HVAC.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't until my 2nd or 3rd year teaching, I would have parents like, I can't wait to get my student in your class because they've seen.
Yeah, they've seen the outcome.
They've seen what I've been able to do. And so they're excited to have, they see your results. Yeah. A level 4 leader is someone who develops people. They are building their replacements, right? They're investing in you. So you think about these HVAC educators who train these students so well that they could come back
take
and
their job.
Teach the class, right?
Yeah, right.
Then you're doing a great job, right? So they're developing people. They're investing in them, giving them training, giving them direction, so much so that they're, they could step into that role. And then the 5th level of leadership is that pinnacle. It's people follow you just because of who you are as a person. You've done so much to develop people, to train them. Like you stand on your own merits. People you're kind of that icon.
Right.
Right.
I get that.
And so when we think about what level of leader are we, and as educators, we are leaders
Yep.
because we are influencing. And so what level of leader are you? And think about some of the most impactful leaders you've had in your life. I mean, I'm sure you can think of
I'm
many.
just sitting here imagining them right now, and I hadn't thought of that perspective before, because we think of leadership as either you're a leader or a follower, but that is not that is not true at all. When we think of leadership, we can actually look at it as what type of leader, and then start looking at what were those character traits of leadership that I admired, and maybe where am I? What steps do I need to progress to a new level of leadership? That self-awareness.
And you may be at different levels with different people in your
Yeah.
organization, right?
Absolutely.
There may be people that you're not as connected with. You haven't had enough interactions with them to really be able to add value to them
Yeah,
yet and build and develop them. So it's an ongoing journey.
Oh, man. You're sending me down a new rabbit hole. You realize that, right? I can't stay away from this one now. Because now I was sitting there thinking about, okay, where am I? And that's going to turn in, okay, where am I? Where's my
Where's
friends?
my boss?
Where are the people around me? Yes.
It's a fun thing to think about. And honestly, in the quest for self-development and
Yeah.
professional development, personal development, it's thinking about how can I raise my value? How can I add more value? Raise my value by adding value to others.
Yeah, absolutely.
You become a more valuable asset when you are adding value to other people.
Sure. If I think about, why are educators at this conference? There's 1,200 people here, all for the same reason, because they want to have professional development so they can pass that professional development on to someone else. And so now we have the opportunity to go, okay, that's great. We love that. That's a great technical thing to do. Now let's talk about some delivery. Are there ways that we can improve that so that you can take this knowledge that you're comfortable with, and maybe focus on some aspects that could be a little uncomfortable, but yet if you focus on those, they can yield a better outcome. Because it's all really about better outcomes.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And understanding and knowing what that goal is, what is that outcome? And then almost kind of like building it backwards, like, okay, that's the outcome that I want. So what's the intention that I need to bring to get to that outcome?
Exactly.
And how can I build a path and use language and words and communicate to get there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wish I would have sat in that class now, because I can see it. It's very, very clear of, what you can do to improve that outcome. We've done some classes before on how to analyze student assessments to improve outcomes.
Right.
Well, what about ourselves? Are there things that we can do to self-evaluate, to, recognize the things that we can improve on, and to better deliver the content? Because there's a lot of content to deliver in this, this transition of technology and this transition of refrigerants, and we all are really doing the same thing. I think that's been the most interesting thing about all these podcasts is everyone has the same motivation,
Right.
to do good for others and to give to them and help pass that information on and to see somebody be successful. So what if we could just learn another little tool to be more successful at that? I think everyone here would want that.
Yeah, it's improving your ability to impact others because you've done the work on yourself.
Yeah.
Another concept that John Maxwell teaches is 360-degree leadership. And what that is thinking about whatever position you're in. Some people are like, well, I'm not a leader.
Right.
It's like, yes, you are.
And they don't know
Everyone is a leader. Like, you can lead, obviously, if you have people that report to you or your students, you lead down, right?
Yeah.
We spend time leading them, but we also can lead up. Like, who do we report to? Who can we help become better at what they do because of our leadership abilities? How can we enhance that and help them do better at their job? And then you lead sideways, right?
Yeah.
You lead your colleagues, your teammates. I mean, half the beautiful thing about this conference is watching them teach each other and network with each other and lead and learn from each other. And what are you doing? And so leading sideways is a beautiful concept, but the one that people forget the most about is leading right in the
Inward.
middle. And you really should spend 50% of your time leading yourself, because you're the hardest person to lead.
What?
If you don't follow yourself, why would somebody else follow you, right?
I've never heard that before in my life. What are you talking about?
So learning to lead within and lead yourself and improve yourself, that will inspire and motivate other people to develop themselves as well.
Yeah, personally.
And you really can't give what you don't have.
Yeah, exactly. Man, and you just brought up a point that I guess I hadn't focused on enough. So like leading up, one of the struggles that educators always have is, how do I effectively communicate with my administration? How do I effectively communicate what I need in this program, but also enable them for their goals? And sometimes we forget that maybe it's actually on us to understand that path a little bit better.
Absolutely. And you said it earlier. You said, you got all these people that have different communication styles, right? If you're familiar with the DISC assessments, DISC are behavioral styles, DISC, you realize that people are either outgoing or introverted.
Yeah.
And then people are either people focused and they love to talk to people and they love to be invested in people, or they're more task focused. And everyone fits in one of these quadrants of, a D would be someone who is very direct. They're very task focused and they're very outgoing. They get stuff done, and really only 3% of the population is a D, which is really interesting. I's are influential and they are very people focused and very outgoing.
Yeah.
Your S's are more steady, more supportive. They're people focused, and they're introverted. 69% of the population.
I get that.
A lot of our technicians, a lot of our office staff, a lot of a lot of our instructors, frankly, are S's. And then C's are very task focused and introverted. So they're not as people focused. And that's about 17% of the population. Those are your accountants. Those are your...
I was going to say, that's my wife. That's my wife, the controller accountant.
You know what? I could probably guess that that's your wife, because you are totally an I, and I's are opposite of C's.
No way.
And so
oh my gosh.
Yes, they attract, which, you think about people who have those qualities that you admire that you don't have. And you
you migrate to that. Yeah.
Do. And so understanding the communication style of the person that is leading you and knowing how they like to be communicated. If I was communicating to a C, I would go in with the facts, the details. I would go in with a lot of the, I would be
the specifics and analytics, and
the analytics, be all the compliances, and make sure that I'm communicating that with them to help them do their job better. And so you think about the people, regardless if you're leading up, sideways, down, understanding their communication style is key, so that you can communicate to them in their style.
I get that. I've actually been working on that personally, and that's not an easy thing to do sometimes, because it becomes not just a self-evaluation, it becomes an evaluation of those around you that you interact with regularly, and it almost becomes math. It does, because you start looking at someone going, I know what you are, and I know what I need to do to be able to talk to you better. And it is intriguing.
It is.
Because it's very systematical when you start looking at it. And I always thought people were just people. Everyone was just unusual, and they had their own, eccentric qualities. And then you start finding that actually there is a lot of systematic orientation to us. And if we can understand that, we can remove barriers much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And just looking at your students and learning about them, really find a way to connect with them. What do you have in common? You most likely have a lot.
Something, absolutely.
Something in common that you can connect with, whether it's family or hobbies or something, and then bring that into your lesson and bring that into your communication with them. It's going to make your lesson that much more engaging for them, because you've applied it and made it personal. Using their name often. People love to hear their name. The sound of your name is like the most magical sound and word in any language. People just love to hear their name. So
be recognized.
Using their name, recognizing them. That connection is the first key, being able to connect with them, and then asking really good questions to learn more about them, and let them, once they feel that connection with you, they'll start to open up to you. And then that gives you insights as to, okay, these are ways I can serve this person and help this person, because I see what they value and I can add more value to them in those ways.
That's a pretty powerful word that you just used. And I think that most people in education are of servant hearts, of servant nature. And that's really what we're doing. We may be doing it with technical information, but we truly are serving people.
Right.
And understanding the best way to deliver the content, even understanding our own content delivery method, because sometimes it changes as we mature. Sometimes we learn new ways to deliver the things that we're already comfortable with that has a greater impact. And so I think it's very important that we do that self-evaluation. Do you have any good tools for doing that self-evaluation, even like the DISC analysis? Or what are some good resources that an educator could use if they're listening to this and they go, okay, I know my wife has been hounding me for years. I need to do this, but now my podcast is telling me I need to do this too. Where does somebody begin?
I think it's fascinating. The DISC assessment has been something that I've learned over the years, and now I'm certified in reading those and teaching all about that with the John Maxwell system. And so it's been something that I think once you start to learn about it, it just like things start to make sense. Like you said, people aren't just people. They are people that have certain behaviors. And sometimes they're programmed that way, but sometimes they just come that way.
Yeah.
Like I have 4 kids and all 4 of them are different, you know,
Absolutely.
and it's learning how to communicate differently and effectively with each of my 4 children. And now I'm getting in-laws, a son-in-law, and I have to learn his style too.
Have to readapt a little bit.
And don't, we don't have to be perfect all the time. That sometimes is something that I struggle with, is like trying to have that perfect conversation or fit the mold. You're going to have failures. You're going to mess it up, but just learn and take note. It's that awareness factor. What worked and what didn't work.
Yeah.
And we can do that in our classes too. What landed well with that class or what was just a total flop. And then try to either avoid the flops and recreate the good moments, but you'll notice what resonates with each of your students if you take the time to pay attention to that and observe.
I've heard educators before, and I've had this in some of my own classes, but it's definitely something that has resonated before that I didn't particularly understand, but I'm starting to understand more, is I do a great job delivering this content, and I do the same content, and some classes do great and some don't, and I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. I mean, could it be simply a matter of evaluating your students and having an understanding going into the conversation, what can work better for this group of students that might not have worked for others?
Absolutely. And you're going to have a different set of students. I mean, regularly. Yeah. And so it's taking the time to figure out the best way to connect, ask questions, listen, and then just really pay attention to words, to the words that they're using. I can't do this, or I shouldn't do this. And also pay attention to the words you use about this. I was talking in my session earlier today about, you're getting ready to teach a new concept. And it's like, all right, everyone, this is going to be a tough one. This one's going to be hard. We've all got to really focus here. And you're using this language of it's tough and it's hard and it's going to be a difficult thing to do, right? It's like, that is you're setting up their mindset to already feel like it's going to be this hard concept versus, hey, I'm so excited to teach you about this new concept today. This has been a challenging one that is really going to get you on your toes. And once you get this down, you will, it's the language you use as an educator. It's all about the word choice, the delivery. And so sometimes your class will, they're going to feed off of that energy.
Absolutely, it would.
And so being aware of the words you use as an educator, definitely it's a hard topic, but do you need to paint all that language around it?
Right.
Or can you paint the beautiful language of, this is such a cool concept that you guys get to learn today? Who's to say it's hard? You're labeling it as a hard concept, and they might pick it right up
before it's even delivered.
Like you said, like this generation is this coming up, like stuff that might be really hard for us might be a piece of cake.
It might be so simple to them, and we deliver it, and they go, "Well, that wasn't hard," and I go, "Oh, did I waste those minutes just prepping you?"
Exactly. And so, being careful of the language that we use as educators and leaders and influencers, to make it, the way we talk about our experiences, other people, and ourselves, it matters and it's heard. And so those are all things within our control.
Yeah.
The words are in our control. We've just got to wrangle in those thoughts and make sure the right words come out. It takes practice.
I think that's the title of this podcast. And Angie Snow, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful time here at the conference, and I appreciate you hanging out with me today.
Thanks. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Awesome.